Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to find the standard deviation of a discrete probability distribution. Now the formula at the top that I copied is the variance, and so we'll have to take the square root to get the standard deviation. But I wanted to kind of start there, and I copied that formula over. It is the shortcut formula. So first of all, let's look at the formula. The sum of xi squared, or x squared. Let's go ahead and list x, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's list our frequencies, 7, 35, 56, and 27. We can go ahead and square x because the formula says we need to, and we would get 4, 9, 16, and 25. And then it tells us to, we're going to multiply x squared times the probability of x. So let's find the probability of x. So remember, the way we do that is we add our frequencies up, and they will add up to 125. And so we're going to do 7 divided by 125, which equals 0.056. And then 35 divided by 125 would equal 0.28. .448 and 0.216. And remember, you can check these because they should add up to 1. Okay, now what we have to do is multiply. Our formula says multiply x squared times the probability of x. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply 4 times 0.056, 9 times 0.28, 16 times 0.448, and 25 times 0.216. And when you do that, you'll get these numbers. And when you, the last thing you need to do, well, not the very last, but the last part of the first part of this formula is you have to sum them. So when you sum those, you get 15.304, and then that is your sum. That is your first chunk here. So we already know that the standard deviation equals the square root. Remember, we have to take the square root of this. And the first part of this problem we just did. Now the second part is just the mean squared. And in the first video, I actually showed you how to do the mean. But just to review here, all the mean is the sum of your probabilities times xi. Sorry, the sum of your probabilities times xi. Okay, so that was right. Let me write the formula down. It's really early in the morning when I make some of these videos, so I'm still drinking my coffee. So it's the sum of xi times pxi. So we technically have those numbers over in the first column, so let's copy them over. We know what x is, and we know what the probability of x is. So now what we have to do is just multiply those two numbers. So actually, once you do the first part, the second part, the information is there. I just like to copy it over so I don't use the wrong numbers. But you can multiply it without copying it over if you want to. So let's see. This would be 0.112, and this would be 0.84 because I'm multiplying across here. This would be 1.792, and this would be 1.08. So this is the mean. I just did the formula for the mean because I have to do the formula for the mean because I have to square the mean to go in my standard deviation formula. So when I square 3.824, what did I get? 14.623. So the first chunk was the 15.304. All that work we did to get to that number. And then the second chunk is the mean squared, which is the 14.623. So now I'm going to subtract those. And I believe I got 0.681. And then take the square root of that, and you will get 0.83. So your final answer here is the 0.83. Now let's go back through the formula real quick just to make sure that you understand. Since there's so many steps, you really have to understand. So the first part, we took x and squared it because that's what it wants in this first little. Let me find something to highlight here. So this first little part, it wants us to square x and then multiply it by the probability. First, you have to get the probability. It's just the frequency for that particular row divided by the total sample size. So that's what we did here. So we got the probability of x, and we got x squared, and then it says to multiply because these are right beside each other. It wants you to multiply those. So we multiply those, and then the last thing you do in this parenthesis, the order of operations says to add last. We're adding the product together, and that's how we got the 15.304. So all of that is most of the problem for the variance, for the standard deviation. Now the mean, you actually have to take another formula to get the mean, and it says to multiply your x's times your probability. We had already gotten the probability, So we multiplied x times the probability, and it tells us to square the mean in our formula and subtract it. So that's what we did right here. We subtracted, and then don't forget to take the square root, and then you will get your answer. And that is how you calculate the standard deviation for the discrete probability distribution. Yes, it is a lot of steps, but they're very simple steps that if you practice several times, practice this type of problem, then you should get the hang of it. Let me know if you have any questions.